What's up, you beautiful people? Welcome to another episode. So this is going to be a Q&A episode where I go through the questions that you guys have been dropping in the comments of recent videos and just go through one by one, answer them for you guys, give you my thoughts. I collected a bunch of really great questions here, actually. So we're going to be trying to do these episodes once every couple of weeks. If you have questions about personal development, self-mastery, about business, about marketing, whatever, put it down into the comments. We're going to be collecting those, and then we will hit them in a future episode. But let's dive in. First question comes from Bella Queen 7654. She says, would love a video on content creation starting out. Some questions about how if you don't yet have an established business, but are an entrepreneur in the works, would you include personal posts about your life, various interests, i.e., if you're interested in books, acting, health, wellness, restaurants, fun mixed in with business posts. Okay, so the question is effectively like, okay, you're starting out, you're making content. One, you don't have a big audience. And two, what do you actually talk about? Like, is it okay to talk broadly about all the different things that make you an interesting and compelling human? Or should you just stay within a narrow niche and talk on a particular topic and like stay in your lane? First, the size of your audience is largely irrelevant these days. The way that social media has transitioned and pivoted over the years has gone from being an we'll say an audience-focused algorithm to an interest-based algorithm. So what that means is, in the past, having a large following was very helpful because if you had 100,000 or a million followers, a good portion of that audience would get served up your content as you put it out there. These days, the algorithms have shifted so that now it doesn't really matter how big your audience is. What the algorithm is going to try and do is find the perfect audience for your piece of content. Like, what is going to maximize the viewage on that piece? And so if you put out a piece of crap content and you have a large following, it's not going to go anywhere. If you put out a great piece of content and you don't have a large following, it can also go everywhere. It can go gangbusters. And we saw this actually recently on Instagram. So I have a very small following over there. I think at the time we had maybe 10,000 followers on Instagram. I had just purged a couple thousand actually to try and clean it up and make sure that the people who were subscribed and following were actually engaging with the content so that we have better engagement metrics, right? So we put out that post, and usually our videos were getting maybe 500 views per video. That one got 300,000, brought in a couple thousand followers, right? So just a perfect example. That's a relatively small, very modest sized audience, massive video. So you do not need to have a big audience to go viral. Now, what should you talk about? Should you talk about your life? Should you talk about restaurants? And should you talk about your health and wellness plans? My approach to this is that people do business with people. And the more that they get to know the human side of you and the things that make you interesting and compelling as a human, the more likely people are to resonate with you. It gives them more hooks to be relatable and say, oh, I see something in you that I find endearing, and I want to continue following you and potentially do business with you in the future. So the system that I teach my students is something called the character diamond. Actually, no, it's the character compass, but it does look like a diamond. And it really breaks down into 5 different things. You talk about your abilities, the things that make you unique, like the things that you're great at. And this is usually around the business that you're doing, right? Like you have some unique advantage in that space. So talk about your abilities, talk about your beliefs. So the things that distinguish you from others in the space. And particularly what you want to talk about are the things that you believe that might be contrarian to what everybody else believes within that industry. Third is you want to talk about what you're passionate about. So include, hey, if you're passionate about restaurants and about reading books, like put that in there. If you're passionate about acting, put it in there. Next is your habits. Talk about like, what are the habits, the routines? Like, what does your day-to-day look like? Because people love seeing behind the scenes to get to know you better. It makes you look like a more authentic human, which at the end of the day is a really good thing on social media, where, especially in a world of AI content, it's the one thing that's going to help you stand out and distinguish yourself. Next is, what are your quirks? Like, what are you weird? We're all weird, right? Like, what makes you uniquely weird? You could be like me. I hate being wet wearing clothes. It's like it's freaking hell on earth. I hate socks. I have a big thing against socks, right? Quirks. I'm time blind, right? I talk about being a time wizard all the time with my ADHD. So like, what makes you kind of like a little bit weird? And then last, what are your vices? Like, what are the things that you really struggle with? Like, I struggle with procrastination. I've talked about how I struggled in the past with like video gaming addiction, right? So like, what things do you struggle with? And that gives people a bunch of different angles to come at with your content. Again, gives them more hooks into relating with you. Now, your content doesn't have to do one of these 5 things. Ideally, you're trying to mix and match and mingle these things as often as possible and try to find that right ratio. My rule of thumb, though, is generally if you're trying to build a business around your content, try to aim for more content around the business than you do around the personal. So maybe aim for like 70-30, where it's 70% about the business, educating and making it about the audience, 30% showing them you and giving them a hook to be like, oh, I like this person. So hope that answered the question, Bella. Great question. Number 2 is, how does abundance mindset work in ADHD in terms of getting the most out of a challenging situation like workplace growth and earning wealth? This came from Mohib Quadri 4053. So how does the abundance mindset work in ADHD? So first, I would say this is that ADHD is a helpful label to understand that there is a biological difference occurring inside of your brain, that you function, you see the world differently, and that comes with some some real limitations, or at least some real differences in how you operate versus maybe how other people operate. But as a general rule, I try to resist using my ADHD too often as a reason why I'm different, or why something isn't working, or why I have to do things in a different way than the average person. It becomes too much of a crutch to point to that as a problem. So that's the first thing I would say. So really here, the question should be, how does abundance mindset work in terms of getting the most out of a challenging situation? Just remove that ADHD label there, because it doesn't serve you. And I'm telling you this from personal experience for myself, that putting ADHD into that question gives you an out. And you could substitute anything here, right? It could be, how does abundance mindset work being a female in a male dominated industry? Doesn't serve you. Like that label doesn't serve you. How does it help being a minority in an otherwise white dominated place, right? Doesn't help you. So just remove that and say, how do I maintain an abundance mindset through challenging situations? And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like when hard things are occurring that you don't hate it, right? Like suffering sucks. When you're going through a challenge, you don't at that moment always feel like you can see the abundance in it. You're not like screaming from the rooftop, thank God the world is falling apart, so I have this opportunity to rise to the occasion and be my best self, right? But this is a script that you need to be running inside of your mind and programming it consistently when times are good and when times are bad. And you're telling yourself and reinforcing the message even when your body doesn't necessarily agree with you. So this is like if you were to run a 100-mile race, right? Like an ultra endurance race, one of the tactics that you do is you smile. You smile through the pain, because you can either smile through it or you can cry through it. One of those is going to get you a lot further, and it's going to serve you. Now, it doesn't mean that you're actually enjoying the pain and the suffering, but you find meaning and purpose in it. And you can see past the pain in the moment to the greater lesson and the greater value that you're extracting from having gone through it. So this, again, it's a skill that takes time and practice to develop. And it only does that if you're intentional with it. It's not going to happen randomly. You actually have to sit down every morning and program it into your brain and say, today I'm going to be grateful regardless of what challenges or obstacles arise. I'm going to be patient regardless of what situations challenge me and frustrate me. I'm going to be open and grateful for the opportunities in front of me regardless of how much it might be annoying in the moment to have to deal with XYZ, right? Like you have to program it in the morning, set the intention, and then hold yourself to it throughout the day. And a lot of that is just being intentional about catching yourself when you're slipping, like becoming conscious of how much negative self-talk you have going on throughout the day, and then catching it in the moment and rewriting it and saying, hey, that doesn't serve you. When you say those words, when you speak like that to yourself, when you convince yourself that that's the way the world is, that's not helpful. So instead, I choose to believe this, right? And use those words. I choose to believe this. So hopefully that helps you, Mohib. All right, number 3. Oh, this one's a funny one. So this one isn't actually a question. This is from Peter Edwards 2318. This was on a video where I talked about that you don't need to go viral to grow a big audience. And he goes, my guy, you have 14 and some change thousand subs. You aren't in a position to talk about virality. Well, if you're just tuning into this podcast, this channel, you might look and be like, oh, you only have 14,000 subscribers. I'd encourage you to go look at my main YouTube channel, which has over 300,000 subscribers, or go over to LinkedIn, where I have over 100,000 subscribers. And LinkedIn actually gave me a Top Voice award for being one of the most engaging creators on that platform. So I know a thing or two about virality, but take me for what I'm worth here. So next question is, I get the question a lot in the DMs. Hey, do you need SEO services or editing or graphic designer? Hey, we can make your Instagram more blah, 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 whatever, right? No, the answer is just no. If I don't reach out to you, I do not need your services. Here's the rule. I only do business with people who have the ability to catch my attention, to build trust, and then convert it, right? So they put out a piece of content around SEO, or they put out a piece of content around graphic design. I see it and I go, that's really good. They're great. And then I go to their YouTube, their podcast, and I go deeper into it. I'm like, they really know what they're talking about. I want to work with that person. That's who I do business with. I don't do business with people just sliding into my DMs for the first time. Now, if you're starting your first business and you don't have reach yet, that's okay. Like cold DMs, cold emails, that's fine. So I have nothing but love in my heart for you guys that are like leaving those comments in these kind of videos. I'm not the demographic for that. I'm good. Like I'm good, man. I got the reach. I got the reputation. I got all that stuff. Like you're not going to get my business just cold DMing me. You will get my business by putting out amazing, great content that captures my attention. So focus on that. And that's why we talk about building a media machine. Well, I think every business owner needs to have a media machine that builds reach and reputation outside of them having to do all the work or doing all the cold outreach and all that, right? Okay, let's talk about this one. Fitness demand. He says, make a video about when you don't like reading, go to the gym or doing something, but you have to do it. How do you manage this situation? So two things is I used to really struggle with this when I was young. Like I followed my motivation, my emotion. If I didn't want to do a thing, I didn't do the thing. So like the girl that canceled on the podcast, she didn't follow through because she didn't have the discipline. My rule of thumb is you don't have to love it, but you have to do it anyway. Don't have to love it, but do it anyway, right? Now, other rules that I have, because you got to have different rules for different situations. You don't have to love it, but do it anyways. Or it's okay to suck, but never skip. Just get into the gym and do the minimum amount of effort. You don't feel like reading, just sit down and read one page. Do like the minimum amount of effort just to show up and do the thing. That's rule number 2. If you do skip, never skip twice. Because skipping once is a mistake. Skipping twice is the beginning of a new habit. All right. So skip once, but never twice. And yeah, just if you can tie the short-term pain that you experience in that moment of going to the gym, of reading the book, to the bigger award, the reward, the thing that you're striving for, the prize. If you can tie, like, if I go to the gym right now, this is going to serve me in 10 years when I'm blah, 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 blah. Like I have my grandchildren, I want to be able to pick them up and play with them and run around the field with them. Like if I don't go and do the workout right now, I can't do that. If I don't go in and make these cold calls right now, I'm not going to have the money in the bank next week, which will allow me to do this and this and this, and then go on vacation with my family in 6 months. Like you have to tie the short-term pain of the thing that you're avoiding to the larger opportunity that you're striving towards. And if you can do that, then you can usually summon a different type of motivation to get into the gym, even if it's not like getting in there all rah and like, oh, I'm going to set the gym on fire today. It will get your ass in there. And again, 80% of success is just showing up. The hardest part is just getting in the gym, right? All right, I don't know what number 1. This one is kind of an abbreviation, but effectively it's like, hey, do you like Elon Musk? Because I did another video where I was talking about Elon. I don't remember exactly the context of it, but yeah, I actually do like Elon a lot. I know he's a really controversial figure, but I think even personally, like, say what you will about that guy, he doesn't give a fuck what anybody thinks about him. And I think he's one of the most transparent humans on the planet. And that rubs a lot of people wrong because we're just not used to people speaking their minds, because honestly, there's not a lot of consequence for a guy like that. Like, he can afford to be completely authentic because, like, who's going to stop him? Who's going to say, like, what can you do to him, right? I find that really refreshing. And I also find him to be really consistent. I don't find there to be any duplicity about him. And I find him, while I might not agree with everything, I just generally believe that he is on a mission to do as much good in the world as he possibly can. And, like, if you were to quantify it objectively, it'd be really hard to make an argument that he isn't making a massive impact, and that if he can actually achieve the things that he sets out to do, like getting us to Mars, like he might be the most impactful human that's ever lived. So that's pretty cool. I don't know. I like people that live their passion, live their truth, regardless of what others think about them. And Elon really encapsulates that. And I don't think that he does anything out of malice or generally out of desire to hurt anybody. Honestly, I think he's actually he's pretty remarkable in a lot of ways. So yeah, I do like Elon. Number whatever. Any underrated books that not many people talk about? I talk about all sorts of books on the channel. I would go watch those. I try to talk about not just the popular ones, but the books that have had the most impact on me. The thing with underrated books is they're underrated. There's generally not too many underrated books. Like if you think about like the what is it? The effective market hypothesis? No, that's not the word. It's the, why am I not getting it? There's a trading term in the markets that says the all markets kind of converge on to the most optimal outcome. Somebody in the comments put it down there. I'm having a complete brain fart right now. But effectively what it says is that in a world of perfect information, men will act rationally and they will converge on the same outcomes and same conclusions. And that's generally true when it comes to books too. Like the reason the most popular books are like you keep hearing the same books over and over and over again, it's because they're the best ones. And so like if there's a book out there that nobody's ever heard of other than like 15 people, like there's a reason for that. Generally, there's exceptions, obviously. One really good one is The Mind of Napoleon, which was a book that I did a review on this channel. So go watch that. I think it's called like the #1 business book. That's not actually a business book. That's fantastic. But for the most part, the really good books, the really popular known ones, they're popular and known for a reason, just because they're the best. If there's more competition and uneven scope in my HVAC construction industry, then what should I do as an HVAC engineer or in general or for any industry in the industry to increase the value of my work and get paid maximum without being stuck in mediocrity or an average salary? How can I rise above with any traits or skills that can set me apart? Okay, so let's say you're a blue collar worker, you're working HVAC, you're working in a manufacturing environment. You have to understand that you can only your time right now, your value is tied to your time. So you put in your time, you get money out, right? And so it's a one-to-one correlation. You need to find a way to decouple that. Right now, there's not anything that you can do that's so valuable as an engineer on an HVAC system that somebody's going to pay you $10 million for. Probably not, unless you're doing the HVAC system on like the Empire State Building. And even then, you as the hourly HVAC engineer worker on that, you're not garnering that much value. And so you need to start coupling tangential and potentially unrelated skill sets that give you more leverage. So right now you have a technical skill. Let's extrapolate this further. It doesn't just have to be HVAC or physically like working with your hands. Maybe you're an accountant, you have like some finance skill. Take the skill that you currently have and then start asking yourself, what are unrelated but high leverage skills I could bolt onto this skill that would give me the ability to deploy this technical skill that I have in a more leveraged way. For instance, you are an HVAC engineer. Maybe you could start learning sales. Now you can combine the actions of sales with your technical knowledge of HVAC, and now you can go and move from doing the work to being in the sales department, which is typically commissions based and now usually has a higher earning capacity. Boom. Now you're making more money because you know the technical side of HVAC. You can sell it more compellingly, and you have the technical skills of sales. Now maybe you take the skill of HVAC plus sales, and now you combine in management and operations. So now you're not just the person out there doing the sales, but now you're the guy that's running the sales team. So now you got 7 people working underneath of you doing sales, and you're getting a cut of that commission, right? So now you have your technical knowledge, you have your knowledge of sales, you have your knowledge of leading people. Now let's say you take all of that, now you learn the operations side of the business. Now you pretty much have everything that you need to go start your own HVAC company, because now you know how to hire and how to do the work that the technical person needs to do, how to deliver that as a product, how to sell that as a product, how to manage people, right? So you see how these skills, they start to level up. But it's not like, okay, I'm learning the HVAC skills. You should max out the technical skills that you have. If you're an accountant, max out the technical skills that you have in an accountant, but start to understand that you're going to be capped in your earning potential if that's the only skill that you have. So start bolting on higher leverage alternative skill sets. We've done a lot of videos about that on the channel, so go check that out. And that was for, I believe, Mohib Quadri 4053. Great question. And last, this one comes from Calum GS on a video called The Brutal Reality of Making 10K a Month. He said, so is the ideal move to basically systematize processes in the relevant departments as fast as possible to break through that glass ceiling preemptively. So what I was talking about there is that the brutal reality of making 10K a month is that you don't yet have enough money coming in to build a team with systems that you can deploy against those systems and actually start scaling to 100K or to $1 million a month. And so what you need to do is start systematizing your processes early on and well before you actually have anybody on the team. I was actually this was the context of the training call that I did yesterday with with the Beyond the Apex Accelerator program. Was you need to build out your value engines. That's your process maps to understand from beginning to end what triggers the start of an event, and then what are all the sequences that happen throughout that. I did another video on that on this channel. I would highly recommend you go watch that. But yeah, to your question, Caleb, you really need to sit down every week and pick one new system within your business to say, I'm going to document the process and I'm going to retain it so that at minimum, you know what you do to execute that system, that playbook. Next, you can look at it and start to find opportunities to improve it for yourself. You'd be like, actually, do I need to do that step, this step, that step, right? But then once you start hiring people, it makes the onboard and training process really easy, because now you can say, okay, I hired you for marketing. Here's the marketing playbook. These are all the systems that I've documented. This is how I do them. So we're going to go through, I'm going to teach you this one, this one, this one, this one, this step, right? And now it's really easy to say, okay, you're trained in on this one. You're trained in on this one. You're not trained over here yet. So I'm going to keep that. Otherwise, it gets a lot. It's really hard to hold all this in your mind, especially as your team starts to grow. So start that process now. Don't make it to be this really excruciating process. Try to just block out 30 minutes a week. And you can, within just 3 months, you can pretty much bang through every system that you're currently executing within your business. And that's going to set you off on a good foundation to scale from that point forward. So that is all the questions that I have here for now. Until you go down to the comments and you drop whatever questions that you have, we'll collect them. We will do another one of these episodes probably in another week or two. And yeah, I appreciate everybody checking out the videos, leaving comments, engaging with us. I love it. I love it. Love it. If you want more hand-holding, more help building your business, go to beyondtheapex.com. You can apply for the group coaching accelerator program that we run. Otherwise, just hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.